Anand? Is that how you pronounce your name? Hello, sir.
Sure, yeah, or you can call me AJ.
Oh, AJ, what's going
Either
on?
one.
Have you, AJ, you've called in before, right? I think.
Yeah, I've called in a few times. It's kind of my reputation now, my local casino.
Okay, cool. So where are you playing out of?
I usually play at Lucky Chances, but this one's out of the Bellagio in Las Vegas.
Okay, so Bellagio, 2-5 or what?
It's 5-10, nine-handed,
It's a 510,
time break.
510, 1500 cap, right?
It's 2,500 actually.
Did
And they just changed it.
they just changed it? Really? Wow. Like what, months ago?
I don't know, but some of the pros are talking about how they didn't like the change because it.
I can see that. I can see that. Did they change the five? Because so from what I remember, Bellagio was always an interesting one because the 510 game was a 1500 cap, kind of like Commerce, but their $5 blind game is like a $500 cap, right? Or it was.
Yeah,
So
yeah, it was.
did they change the cap of the $5 blind game?
I don't think so because I played that one originally when I got there and it was 500, I
Yeah, I think
think.
that that's a very, very bad. That's bad for the game. I don't know why they would do that. They must have their. What I'm saying is bad for the game, especially like if they rarely get 10-20. I don't know why you would take 510 when you have a very occasional game running that's higher at 10-20, raise the cap, and then have such a huge difference in between for the $5 blind game. Because now maybe you would get some occasional people that would play the $5 blind game, and now they'll never go up here. So it might make the game worse. And like what I was saying earlier in the show, the best game, one of the best games that I ever played was the Hollywood Park game where it was a 5-10, 25, 2,500 cap. The cap, the low cap actually made the game much better. So when you expand the cap, now you start to attract some of these players that used to play like 5-10 at the Win that was uncapped, the big 5-10. Because when I always think about Las Vegas, I usually think 5-10 is pretty big, except at the Bellagio when it was a 1,500 cap. So now when they raise the cap, it just kind of makes it kind of the same everywhere else. I haven't played No Limit in Vegas in such a long time, but that's sort of just my take. It's just very strange, unless they were going to raise the $5 blind game to a 1K cap. But okay, so 5-10, 2,500 cap.
Yep, and we were uh, like 3.5K effective with the main villain, and then there was two other people in the hand. One of them was also 3.5, and then one of them was 450.
So about 3.5K effective,
Yep.
but you have more.
It actually was very. I never got a full count, but it was very close. Under the gun plus one made it 30. I was in the hijack, I think, and I had ace jack of spades. I thought there was a few reasons to three bet, mainly that the blinds were two pros who I felt were very squeeze happy, so kind of just avoiding limping in and then getting squeezed out of it was one. But there was reasons to call too, because the two people behind me, I felt were the only two wrecks at the table. It was a very pro heavy table, and I was just like, I don't really want to squeeze them out, but I don't want to limp in and then have like a pretty high chance of having to fold.
What do you mean limping? You mean flat call? You mean
Yeah, sorry, flat call.
flat call? So plus 1 to 30. Hero has ace of spades, jack of spades. Obviously, it's much easier. There's no straddle or anything, right? It's just two blinds. It's where this becomes a more common call is closer to the button, right? And then when you're more incentivized to like three better fold is when you're earlier. So the theory would go, you should be playing if you're going to VPIP, say for example, plus one versus, I know the guy opened from plus one, but let's say the guy opened from UTG and you were plus one. There are very little flat calls from plus one. It's primarily a lot of three better folding. And that's actually true the shallower you all. As you get deeper, there are more flat calls. Now at 3,500 effective, I mean, you're almost 200 big blinds. I think you could find a call here if you're not, again, kind of going back to the other caller. If you get squeezed, though, you're going to have to double flat. I think it would be way too weak to call and then just fold, unless it's one of the wrecks that three bets, who's only like three betting aces, kings. But if one of the other pros or some Euro squeezes because you flat called, you're probably going to have to double flat. But I could see calling here sometimes.
Okay, that's kind of surprising. I thought like I'm so dominated in three bet pot, and I figured it was just a fold. but I don't really know
You
much.
think it's with ace jack of spades? Oh, if you got 3-bet.
If I flatted and then one of the blinds squeezed or somebody else squeezed, I figured I'd probably just have to fold it.
I mean, that's a pretty good. Really, I mean, that's a with position. If your head's up, ace jack of spades. Oh,
I don't know. Yeah.
I would. I mean, there certainly are some hands that I'm going to double flat, once in a while, but we can debate those ones. It's all about sizing and stuff too, but that's a pretty strong one. All right. So did you call or what?
No, I actually 3-bet to
Okay.
100. I just, yeah, pretty much pretty standard size.
Mhm.
And then the cutoff cold called off of a stack of 450.
Wow.
Yeah, that's pretty great. And then the button called as well. I'm not surprised about that. He was probably the most action at the table.
And how deep was he again?
He was like he covered all of us.
He's a rec player though.
Yeah, I think he was a wreck. I mean, he was just the one person that was limping and calling and stuff like that, pretty much.
And what did the pre-flop raiser do?
He he also called. He just called.
Okay. So you 3-bet and you're going to see a 4-way pot, right? 4-way pot times 100, so it's like $400.
Yeah, like 415.
What's going on, guys? Today, Wednesday, is the absolute last day of CLP's Cyber Monday sale. 35% off of all plan levels, including the Elite yearly subscription. And that Elite yearly subscription is already at a deep discount. So take 35% off on top of that. You don't want to miss out. Just click on the link in the description. By the way, since we're on this, we've talked about this quite a bit on this live stream with some of the private games. This is a time game. Is that right, Bellagio?
Yeah.
And what do you remember what it is?
I think it was 10.
10
I'm
and a
not
half?
100% sure. I 10 for a half. Yeah, I don't remember that, honestly.
That seems really high because I mean, I remember back in the day at Commerce, we used to complain about paying 10 and a half.
It might have been
And
7.
yeah, it's kind of, that seems a little more consistent with Vegas. I
I
mean,
think it might have been 7. Yeah.
7. Wow, that's so cheap. All right, so 415 here, 4 ways. Okay.
Yeah. And so the flop was ace of diamonds, ace of hearts, queen of diamonds.
Ace of diamonds, ace of hearts, queen of diamonds. So hero flops, trips. Okay.
Yeah, my first thought was this board is so good for me. I'm probably only going to get 2 streets. Sorry, it checked to me. The only one plus one checked.
Mhm.
And I was like deciding between betting small, maybe like 100, or checking.
Yeah, this is kind of interesting. I mean, it's not. I mean, there's 2 diamonds out there, right? You've got these ruck players behind you. You assume that the cutoff is always just if it gets the cutoff has an ace, they're just going to bet all in, right? It's interesting. I don't know if we've covered. It's been a while. Like when you have an ace that you 3-bet, and then you get multi-way action in a 3-bet pot, and then the board comes out ace ace x. Kind of a little interesting little spot. And then the other thing too is that you've got a queen out there as well. Although probably pocket queens shouldn't really be represented here by anyone. It should probably, again, I mean, it's certainly not from the cutoff. Should you be jamming? I don't know what the deal is with the button. And I would think that the +1 would 4-bet. So on that side, you might get a little bit of value from some suited sort of Broadway types of hands. Honestly, you might just bet a little bit for protection here too. If you've got 2 other pocket pairs that are just, this is an interesting one here, AJ, right? Say 2 people have pocket pairs, right? Say like 8s and 10s or something like that, right? So that's 4 outs, right? And if you bet, they're just going to fold. But this is a very, very old school crush live poker concept. And I know you're not slow playing, but I used to call this a negative equity slow play. And what I would see in the early 2000s, this was right when No Limit started to go out, right around Moneymaker. Everybody would slow play everything. So what would happen is like a guy would raise with ace king, and then the board would come out like king, king, 9, right? Oh my God, he thinks he's got the nuts. Like we're playing 10, 20, like $8,000 deep. Comes out king, king, 9. It gets checked to him. He checks behind because he's trapping with ace king, right? His opponent, like in the big blind, has like deuce, deuce. He's just going to fold to any bet right on the flop. But ace king traps, checks behind, turns a deuce. And then ace king still thinks he has the nuts and just loses endless amounts of money when the 2-outer comes. And the guy in the big blind would have just folded. If the guy in the big blind is only going to put in money in my example on king, king, 9, deuce, when a deuce comes on the turn, you want to have him fold on the flop. I know you're not slow playing, but that's what it kind of reminds me of here. What I'm saying is that if two people are represented with pairs, you might just want them to you might just want them to fold here, because it's not like you're going to be able to get value from those hands later on. The way that this board is somewhat locked down.
Right. That makes sense. So you're saying like if they have the hands they can have, like if they catch up, they beat me, and they won't call anyways if they don't.
Sometimes. I mean, if you had two other pairs represented here, that's what I was trying to say.
Yeah. I just kind of wanted the cutoff just to go with whatever hand he had. I felt he was very capped to like I put him on like pocket nines exactly, that kind of hand.
Yeah, but I don't know. I understand what you're saying, and I can understand that. And then the other, just lastly, before we move to the turn, I can see sometimes playing certain hands in this manner if you think not betting will increase the bluffing frequency of one of your opponents later on. The thing is that I think that, especially in a multi-way pot, in a 3-bet multi-way pot, I don't think that someone's just going to try to start bluffing representing the ace here, because they're going to be petrified that one of the other 3 players has an ace. You see what I'm saying?
Mm.
So there's different boards for different things. But anyways, okay, so ace. So +1 checks, so you check?
I checked. Also, just a side note, I know you wanted to go to the turn.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, I did. No, I washed over the action. Sorry.
Yeah. The button could have queen queen. He could have anything actually. He could have ace king, ace jack. He had limped in an early position earlier, and then just called my raise pre-flop, and he showed up with the aces.
I mean, I would probably tend to bet on the smaller side, but it sounds to me like you checked. Okay.
Yeah, I checked and it checked around. So the cutoff button just seemed very disinterested in the hand.
Now so obviously, so it gets checked through. It continues to be 415. The player that you don't know anything about their hand is the +1, obviously, because he's going to be probably checking 100% here. So, but again, like it's still with ace jack though. To say like the turn is like a 3 or something like that, it's kind of hard for you not to have the best hand here against +1 if he's going to be 4-betting queen. I mean, I guess he could have ace queen. He could have just smacked it, but I mean, there's just not that many combos. All right, so
yeah, I think it's just queen.
Yeah, but don't you mean ace queen?
Yeah, ace queen.
Because he's going to 4-bet queen, right? With the dead money, I would think.
So.
Yeah.
All
right, so on to the turn.
Yeah, so the turn was the king of diamonds.
King of diamonds. Okay, so ace, queen, king. So that now, again, that's just another situation where I was talking about small pairs, right? Like getting them out. Like say a guy had jack 10 here, and he was just going to fold to your bet. But now he makes a Broadway, right? That was the only way you were going to he was going to give you action, is if he made Broadway. It's that example again. Now, could you get value from a king by checking the flop here, letting a king squeak in there? Maybe. All right. So what does +1 do?
+1 checks, and then I bet 140, which is about a third pot, I think.
Okay.
I didn't really think that checking again made any sense, and I didn't really think betting big like made any sense considering I had checked already.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you bet here, it should be kind of on the smaller side for sure.
Okay, and then cut off button, both fold, and the other one +1 check raises to 350.
Cut off and button fold, and UTG check raises to 350.
Yeah, I was pretty shocked. I thought I could never get raised on this board.
So UTG is, you know the guy? Oh, the +1 player, excuse me. Is he a for-profit player, or you're an out-of-towner though, right? So you don't know.
Yeah, I'm an out-of-towner. Yeah. I don't think he was a pro, but I also don't think he's probably just like he knows what he's doing, but I don't think he was like a type pro.
Well, that is bizarre. That is definitely bizarre. Like, what is he check raising here with? Because everyone's always scared that someone's got like ace king as a pre-flop 3-better, right? Does he have ace king himself? Or maybe like ace queen? Why, you think because he would just slow play it, you mean?
I don't know. I think he was probably like 25. I just feel like his player type is always 4-betting ace king and queen.
So obviously it's a really, really small check raise, right? Like you go 140 into 415, you can make a case where like maybe you induce this. So then the pot's like 555. He goes to 350, so now it's like 900. And it's like 210 for you to call. You're getting incredible pot odds. My question to you, though, is that say you bet 140 and he actually made a real raise. Like he went to 600. I think you could just fold. It's hard to fold for this sizing. Do you follow me, AJ?
Yeah, I do. I felt like I was behind when he raised. I mean, it felt like I was kind of drawing to a jack or a
So
board
you think he
pair.
has like Jack 10 here?
It's so confusing to me because he bet so small. It's almost like he has a super netted hand that he
Because if he has the aces full, you're not drawing to anything, right? You can't win if right
yeah.
now if he has aces full. And if you just said like he's a 25-year-old and he seems like the type that would always four bet ace king, I would assume the other hands that you have slivers of equity with would also four bet pre in this configuration, which would be queen, queen, and king, king. Those are the only hands that you're gonna have future equity against. Jack 10, queen, queen, and king, king, right? So
Yeah. It's just
but I
such
mean,
a weird
I'm not going to
spot for me.
fold to a min raise. I'm going to see what the guy does for sure. I'm just saying, if he actually made it a real raise, I think you could make a. I think you could definitely make a case for folding here. Some people saying Jack Jack with the Jack of Diamonds, John F. What as a bluff? I don't know. Some
I'm
people.
confused though as to why you would fold to 600 but not 350 because I don't know what hands like he chooses that are different. Like if he bets 600, to me that's a little weaker.
I just think that 350 could just be really button clicking here. It could really be button clicking here where you're getting like a situation where and you're getting a better price, right? Where 600 is probably not button clicking. I think it's a really thick value hand, and it's so rare to see somebody, especially on this type of board, take a check raise turn sizing in a 3-bet pot on this type of board. I mean, like I said, at this point, 555, it's like 900, 250 for you to call. You're getting almost 4-1 in position. I could see calling, seeing what the guy does at the end, seeing what the card is, and then if he bombs for like 1,000 at the end on a brick, you could just sort of fold out. But that's why I'm saying if he just went to 600 though, a combination of equity and combination of that it's this sizing tends to be a little bit button clickish. Now Michael G says that this is stronger to me. Michael G, of course, moderator extraordinaire. You think that the 350 is actually stronger than, say, the guy check raising to 600? Something
I agree
like
with
that?
that.
Well, maybe you should just fold now then, AJ. I don't
I thought about it. I thought about it, but
know.
um, yeah, I just felt like if he has like Jack 10 of hearts and he's just like for some reason check raising, like he's just betting, he would bet bigger because he needs to protect against.
Oh no, I think Michael G is actually agreeing with me that a big bet is thick value. This is such a BS size. If he has me beat, good for him. Okay, so he's actually beating me. So
Okay.
it sounds to me like you called, right?
Yeah, I called.
Okay. So now the pot is you put in 700 on the turn, so that's 1115.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Or the river is ace of clubs.
What? By the way, there's another handout here. It's ace of diamonds. Let me repeat the action in the board here. Again, it's ace of diamonds, ace of hearts, queen of diamonds, king of diamonds. It gets checked through. Hero checks ace jack of spades after 3-betting pre. Turns the king of diamonds. Check. Hero goes 150 +1 check raises to 350. Hero calls. One of the things we didn't talk about is a royal flush, which is Jack 10 of diamonds. That's another hand here, which actually might make some. To be honest with you, it actually might make some sense. Besides maybe ace queen. I mean, when Hero, forget about the river coming a jack right now. When Hero has ace jack in his hand, so there's one ace left in the deck, and like say this dude does call with ace queen off, and there's 3 queens left. There's 3 combos of ace queen, right, on the turn that maybe he does this with. If we're saying that he always say 4 bets with queens and kings, and there's one combo of Jack 10 of diamonds. It's not that insane, and it probably gets played off the same way. So that's another one, too. Now the river's the ace of clubs. So now the hero makes quads. Okay, so the guy can't have, obviously, ace queen. So what the fuck does he have? Right?
Yeah.
So what happens now?
I was preparing for him to check, but then he bet 800, which I thought was really strange. I didn't know what hand, like, he's either like has a bluff or he has like a royal flush, right?
I gotta be honest with you, this is just a call. You have quad aces, and this is just a call. I mean, an unbelievable example of this is a royal, yeah, the ultimate polarizing type of situation. The reason why this is just a call for you at the end with quad aces, and I don't even think it's close, is because of the fact that it's similar to what I talk about on 4 flush boards that are unpaired, where it's just so easy for someone to have one card that's the nuts. You have the ace, right? You have called the check raise on the turn. You're the one that has it. So you can't really raise him and ever expect to get called by like a worse hand tier if he's ever really betting a worse hand. It's just never going to happen. So we just said, looking at the turn, if we went and we said, this guy is going to 4-bet pocket queens and pocket kings, you think he's going to 4-bet ace king as well, we are really left with, in terms of hands that are thick value, 3 combos of ace queen and 1 combo of jack 10 of diamonds. Well, now the ace comes and he's still betting. It's just a call. He's just either going to have a bluff or he has a royal, and I don't think it's close. It's just, there's no, because there's 3 aces out there. Ryan Robb says he could have king, king, or queen, queen. Again, Ryan Robb, we talked about that pre-flop, but king, king, or queen, queen is not a super strong hand that is going to necessarily going to call a raise here on this board. It's just second full house. You know what I mean? So I don't. It's very, very unlikely. That's why I think it's just a call. What did you do?
Yeah, I thought about jamming just because like I have quads and it's hard to win. But I actually, and my friends didn't believe me, but I actually did just call.
I don't think it's close. I agree with you, AJ. I don't think it's close.
What would you do if you bet small?
Well, you know what I was actually thinking here. I don't know what I don't remember what the result is, but my question to you is if he actually has a royal here, if you put yourself in, now people might be like, "Oh, this is crazy hand, never happens live," but it's still good for sort of thinking about poker. Like, if he actually had a royal, like if I'm trying to put myself in his spot here, and you call the check raise on the turn, for the same reasons that that when an ace comes here at the end, that like he could have it if you don't have. Remember how we said like it's very easy for somebody to have one ace in their hand, right? So if I have a royal here and I min check raise the turn and you called, if I just bet again here at the end, if I just bet again here at the end, if you don't have an ace, I can have it. So I don't know if you're calling down with just like a king or a queen or something like that. But if I check and you have an ace, you're going to bet almost always. So I might actually go for a check raise here. If I had a royal, I might go for a check raise on the river because I think your range consists of a fair amount of ace X. You see what I'm saying? Now, so, I mean, the funny thing here is like, another hand that you might have here when you get here like this would be like king, king, right? So say you check through on the flop and you bet king, king on the turn and he check raises you and you call, and now the river's an ace. Is there any, and this is interesting, if you had king, king here and he checked to you, is there any value in betting? When you have, when 3 of the kings are accounted for? If you had king, king and you played it this way, I think it's a check back, right? If he checks to you?
Probably bet fold.
You would bet king, king?
I don't know. It's just like I don't think it's right, but I think that's probably what I would do. Personally.
I think it's a check back. I think it's similar to what we're talking about here, where this bet is just a call. I think king, king is a check back if it gets checked to you, because what are you trying to get called? But he can still be sandbagging an ace or have a royal and then check to you. I think that's even way more of a check back with king, king. The reason why I'm saying it, I was just sort of thinking about if I had a royal here, whether this should be a check raise, actually.
I think it's either a check raise or just an upfront, like way over bet or jam.
Yeah, it could be like the worst sizing. So you did just call, right?
I think he specifically was trying to get paid by like king, king or just some like king, queen or something like that. Yeah, I did just call him. He had a royal.
He did have the royal. Wow.
Yeah. So, also, we didn't talk about it, but on the turn, like, does he have any bluffs?
I know. Well, somebody in the chat said Jack, Jack of diamonds. It's just so weird, though. I mean, you just never see that.
He doesn't have any offsuit broadways. He never has like a king jack with jack of diamonds.
I mean, if you're saying that you would go back in time and just fold the turn.
No, I'm like, this is what I was thinking about on the river. Like on the turn, like I just put like he just nobody is turning Jack Jack. I'm sorry, no one in live poker is turning Jack Jack into a bluff on the turn. No one's even calling.
Right. No, I agree with you. I agree with you. But by the way, too, this does not like people saying, "Oh, would this be a bad beat jackpot?" Not where I'm from. So I don't think they do bad beat jackpots in Vegas, or they do, but California sometimes it's pretty easy to hit one, but you have to have two cards play. So this wouldn't be
Yeah,
one. You
yeah.
know,
There was no
no,
bad beat.
you'd have to have like a ace king. But no, I mean that's definitely like I said, that's definitely an interesting one. I think the river is definitely just a call. And there's a number of different options that your opponent, which I actually find is a very unique and interesting situation on the river, whether he should be check raising, maybe throw in like a really small block bet to try to make sure you get, like, say he had bet like 300 on the river. You know what I mean? Then you start to like level yourself into thinking, oh, maybe somehow he has a king. I'm going to make it like 750, and then he comes back over the top. Lastly, here, if he checks to you on the river and you bet like 400, right, trying to get looked up by like a king here, AJ, and he check jams, the end, I assume you just, you kind of puke and call, I guess. I mean, it's just, it kind of makes my head hurt because I mean, that
I
starts
would
to get
fold.
crazy. You'd fold. You would bet fold
I
with
fold for the
quad
same reason
aces.
I just called. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, it's easy to say after the fact,
Well,
right?
no, I
I
mean,
mean,
I agree with you because it's like that's even more extreme, right? He checks the river, you bet, and now he check raises all in. You're the one that has the ace, so he has to have a royal, right? So
yeah,
did
nobody
it
bluffs in
with
that
did
spot.
it with Jack of diamonds, or can you imagine like specifically the guy did it with
You just
Jack of diamonds or 10 of diamonds as a bluff to get you off of quad aces?
I was just gonna say, like, the only reason I thought about raising was like if I just call and he flips over like king queen, like I don't know,
Oh,
a hand that might call a raise, I'd probably be pretty sick as well.